So you're about to start studying for the Physical Therapy Boards exam, or the NPTE. Here are 10 tips to pass the NPTE for the first time when you take it. Number 1 is this: create a study calendar and stick to it. Give yourself the best opportunity to pass by setting goals to review the content regularly. When I started studying for boards, the first thing that I did was to create a study calendar. I go into a lot of detail on how to create a study calendar and even share the exact calendar I used, as well as a blank template so you can modify it based on your study preferences. Number 2 is to use a boards book or 2. Most people use just one boards book, but looking at a second boards book might not be a bad idea for you. See, everyone has a different way of processing information, so if an outlined format doesn't sit well with you, consider a book with a few more images or one that has paragraph style layout. You don't need to study both books though, but you definitely want to study one book very, very well. Personally, I use both the Therapy Ed study guide as well as the Scott Giles book. I think both were excellent resources, but the Therapy Ed guide was a little bit more of an outline format, while the Scott Giles book was a little bit more of a paragraph style reading style book. So depending on your preferences, take a look at both of those and see which one fits you best. Number 3 is to focus on what matters. The NPTE has 200 questions, and 75% of them are on the big 3 topics. 1 is musculoskeletal, 2 is neuromuscular or nervous system, and 3 is cardiopulmonary and lymphatics. The rest of the areas are important to study as well, but focus on the big 3 areas, especially if one of them is a weakness for you. I'd also recommend reading the FSB, PT, and PTE breakdown carefully before you start studying, because it goes through all of the sections and what to expect from each category that you might see on the test. So take a look at that real closely as well. Number 4 is to consider taking an online prep course. I personally took an online NPTE course about 8 weeks before I sat for the NPTE. I felt that it was helpful because it gave me a different perspective and it gave me some variety in the way I studied. See, if you need a little extra accountability or support, you might look into one of those online NPTE prep courses like the PT Final Exam. This was the course that I used and I highly recommend it. You can see more in the link below for more details, and I even go into an in-depth review that I share with you on the blog. So take a look at that. Number 5 is to find a distraction-free environment. I designated a time set aside each night to study, and it was usually between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. I studied best at home and at my desk, but I made sure that all the distractions were turned off, and that was really helpful for me. For me, I eliminated all distractions by deleting all the social media apps from my phone and kept my computer shut unless I was taking a practice exam or looking up concepts online for more clarity. Do whatever it takes to set up a distraction-free environment, and you'll set yourself up for the best possible chance to succeed. Number 6 is to get up and move every hour. You're about to be a PT. Don't just sit for 3 hours a day hunched over a book. Get up and walk around. Do some push-ups or squats. Get your blood flow going. Speaking of blood flow, I've got a quiz question for you. When blood leaves the right atrium, what valve must it pass through in order to enter the right ventricle? We'll take a look at the answer below. Of course, I got to get through number 7, 8, 9, and 10, so hang with me here. Number 7 is to take multiple practice tests. In my board study calendar, I set aside time to take 8 different practice exams. I know others who took 4 to 5 practice exams and did very well on the NPTE. So regardless of the number of practice exams you take, you need to review them appropriately and take the time to really understand why you got the question wrong. Did you just read the question wrong? Did you confuse the answers? Was your answer just simply a guess? Did you second guess yourself? Also, you'll definitely want to purchase the PTE exam, which stands for the Practice Exam Assessment Tool. Now, these are the retired exams from FSB PT and well worth the $99 it costs to purchase the exam. Also, per the FSB PT website, 99.3% of people who scored over 600 on the PTE exam passed the boards. Now, that's a great resource to make sure that you're on track with your studying. Number 8 is to use the PQ4R method of studying. Now check this out. A Berkeley review on how we learn highlighted a concept called PQ4R, which stands for Preview, Query, Read, Reflect, Recite, and Review. Now preview means simply skim the area you're about to study. Briefly look at the headlines and the bolded areas in items to create a schema or map. The Q for query means make a mental note of questions you might have about the study topics you're about to study. Read is to read carefully. Don't skim here. That's what the preview is for. Read with the intention of finding the answers to the questions you formed while previewing the material. Reflect by taking time after you read each section by honestly asking yourself or assessing if you understand the material. As for recite, can you recall the material? If you can explain it, you probably understand it. If you can't explain it, then you really need to go back and learn it until you can explain it. And finally, review. Take the time to go back to the material you've just learned, and this will reinforce that new item and will be easier for you to build on as you continue to study. Number 9 is to ask others to quiz you. Now, I personally did not study a lot in groups, but I did find value in explaining concepts to my friends and classmates whenever possible. Sometimes I would arrive to class 20 to 30 minutes early and write out a process on the whiteboard explaining a concept to another classmate, and they would also do the same thing, which helped me to understand the concept based on their teaching method. So that was a very helpful way to understand material a little bit better, is to teach and then to be taught for specific concepts from classmates. Okay, number 10 is breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Seriously, studying for a big exam is stressful, and I actually bookmarked a page on my phone that is a simple box that expands and deflates and is meant for you to breathe in sync with it to help you to relax. Now, that might sound silly, but really it does help you to relax. So when you find yourself stressed about a score or how soon the boards are, pull up something like this bookmarked image and breathe to the box expanding and collapsing. Just give it a try. I mean, if you don't get the app, that's fine. Just simply breathe. Take some time to meditate and just to think about some positive things in your life, not just focusing on the stressful negatives of how poorly you feel like you're doing on the exam. Just give yourself a minute to breathe. Okay, so there you have it. Those are my top 10 tips for studying in a way to pass your physical therapy boards exam the first time around. You can download the week-by-week board study calendar that I personally use to pass the boards exam the first time around by clicking the link in the description below and checking that out. And of course, back to that question. The answer is the tricuspid valve. If you got it right, nice work. If not, you got to get back to studying, stop watching YouTube videos. But before you do that, be sure to subscribe, because I hope that you found this video to be helpful. And if you want more information like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.